Hello, everyone. Again, I want to welcome you to Around the Globe with Dr. G. We are in the beautiful city of Athens in Greece. Here we are next to one of the famous stadiums in the world, actually. Here, the Olympic Games have been held. It is a place of distinction and a place where the Apostle Paul was very familiar with. In a lot of his letters, he spoke about people that were athletic, going through the discipline of winning a crown in an athletic competition. So he was very used to being, especially in the Greek culture, there is a lot of emphasis on athleticism and competition and running a race. And so he used that in a lot of his letters. He talked about running a race and getting a crown. Of course, as an athlete, it's very important to discipline yourself. You have a lot of competitors, and sometimes in some races, the winner between the first and the second is barely seconds. I mean, if you're running a 100-meter race, sometimes the winner, the first person and the second person, the difference between the first and the second may be barely seconds. And so, yes, these races tend to be very, very competitive. And at the end, of course, there is a crown that one gets. Paul talked about the crown being a perishable crown, and he compared it to the eternal crown. So he used the analogy of racing and competing in athletics and the race, the journey of life itself. He even talks about himself at the end. He said, I have finished the race, which means life is a race. The competition is not necessarily a competition between you and somebody else. At the end of the day, we all come alone and we go out alone as well. The competition is really between you and yourself. The competition and the race involves you growing and evolving. Even athletes, for example, in their athleticism, yes, they always try to push and get better. In the race of life, it is the same thing. You're pushing and getting better. Again, this is not a competition with another individual. This is more a race, a competition in yourself, within yourself. And what really is the competition? The competition is you're competing between what I say, you and you. So you have your outer you, which relates to the world, and you have your inner you, which relates to your inner world. And a lot of times, the competition is the fact that the inner voice may be saying one thing, and the outer voice may be saying something else. The competition can also be looked in terms of the flesh and the spirit. The flesh, again, describes the physical being, how we relate to the outside world. And the spirit is in relation to how we relate to ourselves inside. And so there's the physical being, and then there is also the spiritual being inside. It's a competition. The Bible says that the flesh wars against the spirit and the spirit against the flesh, which means that sometimes on the outside you might be looking and wanting to do certain things, and your inside is saying, oh no, don't do that. And so again, there is a competition between the two. And the race and finishing well is which part of you is going to win over. Which part of you is going to receive the crown of glory? The whole point of the journey of life is really this competition within ourselves. There's a part of us that desires to push forward regardless of who we push down along the way. The inner part of us will say, no, 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 you don't want to do that. That is not the way to win the race. The way to win the race is actually the same way that the apostle and the Lord taught, which entails sacrifice, which entails esteeming even others above you. Now, that is not putting yourself down, but that is mainly saying that, others do have something to give as well. Recognizing the talents that other people bring that may be different from yours. Esteeming others above yourself just means that you are recognizing the talents that have been given to others as well. We are in a beautiful stadium. There's a lot of competition that happens in the stadium. It's a stadium of life, and people are competing to win a race. You and I are also competing to win this race of life. At the end, what are the virtues that we live with? That is the question. In this race of life, at the end, what are the virtues that we live with? Do we exit the race with certain virtues, such as the virtue of kindness, loyalty, endurance, perseverance, faithfulness, kindness, goodness? Do we live this race with those virtues intact? Or do we live the race with a bunch of vices? And you know what I mean by vices. The vice of pride, the vice of ego, the vice of greed, the vice of anger, the vice of jealousy, the vice of envy. These are vices. It is possible to get out of this race with those vices instead of virtues. What you and I want to do as we go on in this race of life is we leave the vices behind. We are competing within ourselves such that at the end of the day, the vices are left behind and the virtues exit with our consciousness. This is really the essence of this race of life. Life is a race, just like the Apostle Paul says. In life, we have the physical race. In life, we have the spiritual race. No matter what, at the end of the day, even an athlete gets old and they exit. We need to really examine this race, how we are running this race. Are we running to win, which is we live here with the virtues that we have acquired, and we live behind the vices? That's what you and I have to examine. Again, we're in the beautiful city of Athens in Greece. This is Around the Globe with Dr. G.